since there is an update coming to Automobilista 2, I thought let's have a look at what content might be coming up in the next update, and also the updates after that. And you might be wondering, how do I discuss these things without revealing any beta information? Well, there's something called the AMS2 files, and if you download the mods, which I will show you later how to, you can see all of these secret files which show what content might be coming. So today I'm going to go through all of the files and see what content might be coming. So, and if you want to see the complete list, join my discussion Discord down below. So first of all, we are starting with tracks. The first one which is on the list is Azure Circuit, also known as Monaco, 88 version. And if I recall correctly, that's one of the times Senna won. Could be, I don't know which one time he won. Could have been also his famous pole lap. I'm not so sure. So we have to see which one that is. But the only difference is it's a bit tighter. I believe I've discussed this a little bit before. And I've also a different video where I discussed some things which are going to be brought up. And yeah, that video you can see on my channel. And now we come actually to some of that content, which is Le Mans 2005 and Le Mans 1971. So what they are a part of the historic Le Mans packages. There will be 3, one from 2005, one from 88, and 1971. There are some cars in this list which are roughly from those times. So you'll see that a lot of them are quite interesting. But now we're coming to the first real circuit, which hasn't really been talked about it. Renato has said that he really wants it, but he's not said that it will be coming. And that is Pocono, which, if you're a person like me, a European who doesn't really watch NASCAR or IndyCar or these things, you might not know what this circuit is. So it's a tri-oval, which is different to Daytona because this one has more. It has 3 proper corners, you could say. Whilst Daytona, it has 2 humongous ones, and the third one isn't really that much of a corner. And what the thing is with these corners is, I don't fully remember, but each 3 are the angle and I believe the radius from different tracks. You have one which is based, I believe Tunnel Curve could be based on Indianapolis. Turn 1 looks a lot like Daytona, or it could be the Big Bend, I'm not sure. There are 3, one of them is Daytona, I believe the other one is Indianapolis, and the third one I don't remember, could be Charlotte or Talladega. And we are not just getting the oval, we're actually getting 6 road courses. And you can see all of the different versions here. I don't fully remember exactly which of these are coming, but there is Pocono have a official layouts list on their website, which has all of the possible layouts. And if you want to figure out, you can just go in the files in the XML CRDs, I believe they're called, and then just check. And that's the end of that track list. Now we get into the cars, and this is also in alphabetical order, so if you feel like the years are jumping a bit, that's why. And first of all, we have the A110 GT4 Evo, which has already been hinted about a bit in the modding Discord. Quite a few of these cars have already been hinted at, and I will sort of explain without explaining. So this one's been hinted at in the modding Discord, and it looks like an A110. I mean, looks roughly the same. It looks a bit. It's not my full cup of tea, but it still looks quite good. And as you can see, it has a four-cylinder 1.8 turbocharged engine. Can produce up to 400 horsepower depending on BOP. I think it will be probably BOP at around 350, 360 due to the cars already in the game. And then yeah, there's nothing really, nothing more. You have like, it weighs roughly tons of, yeah, it's a bit like that. So it's not really, it's not that much. I mean, I don't know what more to say. It's a GT4 car. So it's quite fun to drive, actually. I like the GT4, or I don't know about this one, but I like the GT4 cars in Automobilista too. I didn't know they produce shoes. But yeah, so that's this GT4 car. And now we get into some quicker things. We are jumping into the Audi R8 LMP. So this was an LMP1 car developed by Audi. And it's developed from 1998. But it was last used in 2005, which is important because of obviously the layout which we will be getting. And I believe Renato has hinted at this, and I can discuss it because it was in a certain spot. So yeah, I believe he has been hinted at it. Don't take it my word for it. But what I'm a bit disappointed in is this is the car before the Audi R10 TDI. TDI, which means that the next version was the diesel car, which is what I really wanted. But we will be getting a 3.6 liter V8 mid-engined longitudinally mounted 6-speed gearbox with a multiple disc limited slip differential, so a normal one. And look here, you have Stefan Johansson has driven it. So I mean, it's quite a good car. I believe it has won quite a few. Yeah, it's won Le Mans 5 times. A lot of races in the American Le Mans series. Once in the European Le Mans series, which I didn't know they had LMP1 cars. And yeah, it also led to the R10. So I mean, it's a LMP1 car. I don't really know how much you can talk about it. I don't know the power of it though. Yeah, it says here, without their power about 500 horsepower, 550. So these are about, and now it says 600 horsepower. So depending on the spec, it will have different power. But interestingly, it says, yeah, the other was 520. So these cars were absolute monsters in terms of downforce, it seems, but in terms of power, they have as much as the Alpine, which is very surprising. Oh yeah, and it also, you have the Bentley Speed 8 also with it. But I believe we can stop there with this car, but now we will come up to a few cars which we could see in the next update. One of these, or technically 2 of these, have been confirmed by Renato. The rest, not. So let's start with the Valkyrie. So obviously this has been confirmed by him. He revealed it on Twitter and Instagram and all of these things. First with the audio of the V12 of this amazing car. Then then I believe, yeah, he went to Traction, the website, and confirmed it for them. And then the Razer did a post confirming this car will come, another car which I will show you soon will also be added, and Nürburgring 2025, which I've actually started to like. I've not liked it so much before, but it's quite an interesting circuit. So yeah, here you have the track. It actually did very well in the race yesterday as of recording this in Sao Paulo, in Interlagos. So what makes this car unique, obviously it's an Aston Martin, but it has a naturally aspirated V12 without a hybrid system. So all of the other LMH cars have hybrid systems in the front tires, or most of them. I believe like the Van Wall doesn't have a hybrid system. But this one, the other ones, like the Ferrari 499P, has a hybrid system in the front tires, which makes it so, yeah, from a certain speed, the electric engines kick in and it can go even quicker, and then it has like brake migration and things. I believe this one also has brake migration though, which is quite interesting. So yeah, this one's naturally aspirated, and the LMDH cars, Le Mans Daytona H. Why is it called Le Mans Daytona H? Because of a dispute. I believe WEC wanted it to be hypercar, IMSA wanted it to be hybrid, so they called it H for some reason. But this one has, the LMDH cars have it in the back. I believe it's a Bosch system, usually is. So that's the main difference with this one. Or actually, there's one more, which is that it's based on the Adrian Newey design. So back a long time ago, I believe like 2018 maybe, Aston Martin were like the title sponsor, title sponsor of Red Bull, and they got Adrian Newey to help them design the Valkyrie. And the Valhalla, I believe, is Valhalla, or what you want to call it, is based on the Valkyrie, which are all both Norse mythology names. Valhalla is the place where everybody goes to die, and like heaven. And Valkyrie is a character. I believe she's in a Marvel film. But yeah, so back to this guy. It has a V12, so it would be lovely to drive. Hopefully, because it's naturally aspirated. It has 671 horsepower. Slicks, of course. Quite a lot of downforce. But he's also confirmed that the street car will come, which is interesting. I believe we can find it here somewhere. When Le Mans Hypercar, where was it? Yeah, here, the Valkyrie sports car, you can see there the images of it. So that's the interesting thing about this car. I don't believe it's fully successful, but it's a very cool car and I really like it. Now, we get to the Vantage, the 2018 version, because there are a few cars might be coming based on this. Well, there's definitely one we know. And let's start with the GTE, which has been confirmed in the files, I believe. Yes, it's been in the files. And it's quite an interesting car. It has a V8, I believe. Yeah, because the previous version had V12s. Has a different grille. Because I believe at this time, when they developed this, they weren't owned by Ford, and the previous version, which was the 2005 version, was when they were owned by Ford, and a lot of different design options. So you have a huge grille here, you have huge air holes here, so air goes through here, which produces downforce. You have a big wing, huge diffuser, and I believe this is like an exhaust. Because the engine is in the front, I believe maybe that's the exhaust for the car. Not so sure. But yeah, so they had the GTE. And what was interesting is the GTE, which doesn't race anymore, could be modified to make the GT3 car. And the real difference here about the GT3 car compared to the GTE is, if we look here, you can see there's a hole here. I feel like, this is the Evo, which we will be getting. So you have the hole here. You have a few extra holes on the side, you could say. It feels like it has a bigger rear wing and a smaller diffuser. So it's a bit different, but they made it so that the GTE car could be made into the GT3 car, which I feel like is a cool thing. But something which is also cool, except for their Mercedes V8 engines, is to use Öhlins, Swedish, now owned by Brembo, Italian, but Swedish damper systems. So the GTE has a 5-way system, which means both slow and speed bump and rebound, but then it also has slow rebound, I believe slow bump, like extra slow or something, or fast. I don't fully remember exactly, but it's something to do with like anti-squat and anti-dive. No, anti-dive and anti-dive, which is to the front and squat, like the car squatting down. So to make the car more stable, because apparently like the GTEs or the GT3s which have 4-way. But the GT3 Eco, no, the GT3's their aero is pitch sensitive. I believe the GT would also be that, because they seem to be quite closely related. And so yeah, when it pitches and dives and all of these things, there's some issues with downforce. The center of pressure changes. So adding this 5-way damper system should improve that. So those are the GTs and GT3s. I don't believe there's a huge difference, except for some carbon fiber and stuff. And yeah, the GT3 car can produce roughly 535 horsepower, 700 newton meters of torque, and has a dry weight of 1200 kilos, which is quite a lot. But now you also have the GT4 car, and it says here we could be getting the GT4 Evo, which is this one. And in reality, it seems like the bodywork is mostly the same, but like always, it feels like the diffuser is different, the rear wing is different, and this part of the bodywork is different. You also have the hole there, it seems. So that's quite interesting. But if we go back to the GTE, yeah, it has the whole front nose is completely different. So they probably just change that. So that's quite an interesting thing. And I believe if you want to wonder what the difference are between the GTE, no, GT4 and GT4 Evo, the Evo is a newer model, which you can also buy as a body kit upgrade. And it has like a different front with here. It has some other bodywork. And also this section seems to be different. Don't really know. And are the major differences? If you know them, comment them down below. And that's these cars. But the previous versions you have are based on this Aston Martin Vantage 2005. So if we go here, you have this one isn't confirmed, but this could be coming the GT2 because of Le Mans 2005 coming. So I hope this car comes. But now you have the GT3, which was very popular, I believe. Where, yeah, it looks very different. Where you have like 2 holes and a separator in between here. This seems to be bigger hole. And there's no triangle. And then, yeah, I don't see any clear changes. But if they were to make like a GT4 Gen 1 and Gen 2 class, I hope they add this one to the Gen 1 and not the other one. And I believe that's about it for Aston Martin. Not really anything more we could say, except for this one has a V12. So now we get into the Corvette C5R, which is another car which could arrive with the 2005 Le Mans, because I believe, yeah, this one is raced in the GT1, or probably, yeah, it's raced in, yeah, it's a GTP. Although the IMSA's had in support in 1989, and then they made this one. So I don't fully know a lot about this. I believe it's a GT1 car, as I said. It says here it won the 24 Hours of Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans. And it has a V8, obviously naturally aspirated, which is cool. It used to have a manual. That's interesting. Yeah, so 99 to 2002. I didn't know they could have manuals back in these cars, or they had chose to have them. But it also had a sequential. I hope it comes with a sequential gearbox. Then does it fully say here what class it ran in? I don't fully know. It says here fully capable. A C5R. It doesn't really say explain what class. GTS. So not GT1, but I have no idea the GTS class. If it's probably a slower one. Oh, it says here GTS/GT1, GT in the FIA GT class, and GTO in Grand Am. So so it is a GT1 car. So hopefully it gets added with the other ones. Then we jump into a Group 5 car, which Renato confirmed will come, and I believe, or he confirmed Group 5, and I believe this one might come with the 1971 Le Mans. So it's a Group 5 car based on a very classic BMW. It's like when you hear about very old BMWs, this is most likely the one that will be shown. It has 302 horsepower from a Formula 2 engine. That's interesting. And the car was developed in only just over 12 weeks without technical drawings. That seems very odd. And it was used by McLaren. It's probably, it was by the time where they didn't really make cars. And it won Macau. And it also won Zolder. Interesting. Don't believe there are any real specs of the car here, except that it could have a inline 4, inline 6, manual, I assume it will have, and it was real drive. So no real specs on this car, but it sounds and looks like a very interesting one. And now we get into the M3 GTR, which was a bit hard to find information on, because there were quite a few versions, it seemed like. But I believe this is the correct one after checking the year. So you have this car, M3 GTR, used a V8 back then, which produced 443 horsepower. It's interesting seeing all of these horsepower figures, because I feel like, it was around this time where cars just produced over 1,000. Like the first one, I believe, was like the Bugatti Veyron. It was the most powerful car back then, which was a big deal. But now all of them, if you're buying a car, all of them are roughly 600-700. And if you're buying an expensive car, you can easily go 1.4. Like the newest Koenigsegg, the Yamiya, I think is nearly 2,000. So that's a very interesting thought. And it was because they wanted to race against the 996. So this was in the GT3 class. And so they put in a V8 instead of an inline 4. No, inline 6. That's interesting. And it seems like it competed in Nürburgring, won Nürburgring, and competed in the 24 hours of Spa. So this is quite an interesting car though, and I like the livery, looks quite cool. Now we get into another prototype, which I believe will come with the 2000. This one I believe might come with the 2005 Le Mans, and this one too, which is the Dallara SP1, also known as the Chrysler LMP, which I believe Chrysler wanted to make. Got help from Dallara to make a LMP1 car to win Le Mans. But it says here, the SP1 was starting to be developed, and then Chrysler wanted to expand their Le Mans program, which made partner with Oreca to design this. And then they withdrew from their program, which made it go from a V8 to a V10. I believe the V10 sounds amazing, if I recall correctly. But it seems like it was also used by Nissan, which is interesting. So it had quite a few teams. It says 6 were built, 3 known as LMPs, Chrysler LMPs. 1 got 4 victories, 1 got 1, and the other one got 1. Okay. So this is quite an interesting car though, because of the history about it. So I mean, it doesn't seem like the best. I don't really fully like these open top cars, but it seems to be quite an interesting car, at least. But now we jump back into the olden days and go to the Ford Zack Speed Capri, which was a Group 5 car with a huge front wing. It looks more like a snowplow, and it looks a bit like it has a supercharger. But yeah, so it looks a lot like the BMW, which is to be expected due to it being a Group 5 car, with a coil spring gas dampers. That's interesting. Inline 4, 5-speed with 90% locking efficiency. No idea what that means. Hopefully that doesn't mean that the 1 in 10 shifts won't work. We'll have to see how it's implemented in Automobilista 2 if that's great. But it has 530 horsepower, 9,200 RPM. Oh my god, this one's a very interesting engine. And it says here, yeah, it was based on an inline 4. So very interesting. And then if you 1.4 bars charge, if you increase it by just 0.2 bar, you gained 70 horsepower. So then it became 600. Very interesting. And now we go back to the modern types with the Genetta G57 P2. But I will say here, I believe the Genetta G57 is already in the game as in P1, both Gen 1 and Gen 2, I believe. But it is in the files as an LMP3 car. And this wasn't specifically an LMP3 car, but they released this, and I believe there was one Genetta, it could have been this one, but there was one Genetta which was intended first to be an LMP2 car, or no, that was a different one. It was intended to be an LMP1 car, but then it changed. This one was made as sort of a weird, it sounds to me like it's sort of a weird prototype which could just race in these weird classes like P1 in Brazil, and not really these major classes like LMP1 was back then. Yeah, it launched as a track car. So it's 900 kilograms, a V8. Quite interesting. Doesn't say how much power, but yeah, it raced in this weird racing series, you could say. And you have this 24-hour Proto series, which I remember being a weird one. But it seems Colton Herta raced one in the 25 hours of Thunderhill. Very interesting. This one has a weird, sort of a weird history, it seems, and not fully documented on Wikipedia. But that leaves this prototype, and now we get into a very interesting part of the video. We are getting into the Lamborghini part. And we will start off with the Lamborghini Diablo GTR. So obviously this was or not obviously, but I believe, yeah, it was in the GTR class, which could have been American. Yeah, wait, it raced in Australia. And in the Bathurst 24. Which I believe they don't have anymore. So this was raced in Australia and was quite successful. Looks like a GT1 car though, but it looks menacing, which is what I really like. So this one's a very cool car in my opinion. 6-liter V12, which was on the street legal one, had nearly 500 horsepower, 590, and 640 newton meters of torque. 5-speed transmission, rear-wheel drive. So very cool car. I would really like this one. Sounds very interesting. And now we jump into a little bit of, I think, an older car. No, we go to the SVR, which is a older version, it seems. Yeah, which was the first car to be specifically made for motorsports. So you can see here, very cool. Less menacing in my opinion, but maybe if you made it black it would look better. So it has a 5.7 liter V12 with 533 horsepower, 598 Nm. So and the 6-speed manual transmission. So yeah, a hard car to drive. So this one sounds like a less powerful and less high tech, you could sort of say, version of that previous car. And it seems like this was sort of a GT1 car. So quite interesting, this car specifically. And now we get into the Miura. No, we get into the Huracan actually. I was wrong. So the car we have in Automobilist 2, I believe, is the GT3 Evo 2. And in the files, it's the GT3. So it's the initial GT3 car version of it. So it has less. So it's less high tech, basically. It's a bit like if you compare the Mercedes AMG GT3 compared to the Evo and all of these things. So quite an interesting car. Not really need to talk a lot about it because it's a GT3 car. Most people know what it is. If you don't know, you can just read about it. So yeah, it's just a older evolution of a car we already have in the game. Now we get into the Mura SUV, which is a street car. Yeah, it was like, I believe, one of the major Lamborghinis of olden times, with a, what does it say? It doesn't really say. I believe like most likely a V engine of some sort. And it says 385 CV, so I assume that's horsepower. And 40.7 kilogram meters. So not new. Okay, so they use weird units. Oh, bloody hell. But yeah, so it seems to be quite a powerful car, but not fully super powerful. So I mean, it's to be expected from that time, but it looks quite cool though. I would really like this car in Automobilista 2. Now we will get to the Lamborghini Murielago RGT. So this is the second it seems like it went from the Diablo, and then when they stopped the Diablo, it went to the Murielago. A bit like what they're doing now, where it goes from the Huracan GT3 into the, why am I thinking of Tenerife? But it's a new model, so it's not just a continuation of the Huracan, which you can discuss if you like it or not. But yeah, has a V12, and there were 7 sold, it seems. They won a few races, and there's not so much information, but basically it's just the Murielago made into a race car. Looks very cool though, this version. I really like it. Not the front I don't fully like with this big gap. It looks just like, sort of like a whale shark if it's open, if it has its mouth open a little bit. That's how I see this. So I mean, I don't say no to these cool cars, but it looks a bit weird. And I believe now we get to the most modern Lamborghini, which could come to Automobilista 2, and that's the Revoto, which is I think their first hybrid, or one of their first at least. It has a V12 producing 814 horsepower, and it has an electrical engine which makes it produce in total 1001 horsepower and 1062 newton meters of torque. So it has a lot of power and torque for this car, and it looks really cool. I don't like these designs though, but I believe those are parking sensors. I mean, you have to integrate them somehow. So it looks very cool, I would say. I really like the rear of it though. Looks very sleek, you could say, where it like the diffuser and the top just join into one point, which I feel like is quite a good design choice. So I mean, what more is there to say about this car? It's a street car with a V12. Yeah, I mean, it's a Lamborghini. So now we actually leave the Lamborghini section and we go to France with the Ligier JS2R. And interestingly enough, like 2 weeks ago, I believe, or no, a few weeks ago, they released a modern, updated version of this car. I believe it's called the JS2RS or something like that. But this is basically a cup car, I believe, and it seems to be like a slower GT4 car, or roughly that pace. So not fully a GT4 car, but similar. Because you can see here the power seems to be less than the GT3 car and the weight the same. So it seems to be like a cup car for beginners to like GT racing, which I feel like is quite a good addition to the game, because you have the Genettas and all of these things. This could be probably added to that class. I feel like the more the merrier in that class, because it's a very weird class. And now we arrive to not this so weird class, the GT1 class again. A lot of GT1 cars in this video, but we get to the Maserati MC12, which I saw there's a video. I don't remember the channel, Automobilisti, I believe they're called, who made a video on, I believe, this car, saying that it dominated for a few years. I didn't watch the video, but sounds very interesting. And it was started to produced in 2004 to 5. So this could be coming with that pack. And yeah, it was based, I believe, on the Enzo Ferrari. So they took like the chassis of the Enzo Ferrari and designed this on it. Yeah, it says it here on the Ferrari Enzo. Yeah, the Enzo Ferrari. Yeah, so it's bigger but less drag, you could say. Lower drag coefficient. It produces 620 horsepower, 652 newton meters. So it's quite a cool car. I believe it's semi-automatic too. Automated manual. Hopefully that means semi-automatic. So this is quite a cool car. I believe it's in other sims, so I would really like it in Automobilista too. Now we jump back, I believe, to a car class which we could see coming, but it doesn't really fit into anything which we have already discussed. And that's the M8A, which is a McLaren Can-Am car. And Can-Am, for those who don't know, was a Canadian-American racing series where they could race, it seems a bit like whatever they wanted. Because you had the car with two jet engine, with two fans called the 2 Jet Z, I believe. Something like that. And you could have active air, I believe some cars had. And this car was the McLaren version. It had a V8, naturally aspirated, doesn't say so much. It has a manual transmission. Yeah, obviously, Bruce McLaren drove it back when he was alive. And also you have Denny Holm, which was a I believe the only New Zealand F1 world champion. And yeah, it's won the Can-Am series in 4 consecutive years, but lost to the Porsche 917, which I think is rumored to come to Automobilista 2. There's nothing in the file suggesting it, but it fits a lot because the Le Mans movie with, I believe, Steve McQueen, he is called, was released in 1971, and they really raced these cars. And so a fun fact just about those cars, the Porsche 917. Guess who won in Le Mans in 1971, the 24-hour race? Helmut Marko. And what does he do now? He's known for being a team advisor for Red Bull, which we will have to see how long he stays there, because now Verstappen seems to be leaving. So yeah, this seems to be quite a cool car. I wouldn't definitely not say no to having any Can-Am cars, because I feel like Can-Am felt a bit like the Group B of sports car racing back in the day, because it was like just do whatever you want and then go mad. You could say Group C is a bit that too, but I would call that class more the weird, wacky class. No, I would say Can-Am is more the weird, wacky class with all of these things. And now we jump forwards again to the Porsche 996 GT3R, which was made for the GT3 RSR, I mean. And it was done for the old GT3 regulations, not the old ones, I mean, like the previous ones without the Porsche Evo. I mean, long before that, roughly around 2005. So this one was designed to those, I believe. They were called those were, I believe, the ACO GT3 regulations, whilst now they're the SRO GT3 regulations. So, yeah, it's a Porsche. I mean, flat engine, looks quite okay. I don't fully like the front, looks a bit odd to me. Looks a bit like a fish. I don't know why, but it feels like a fish to me. So this one's a cool one, and this led to the 997 GT3 RSR, which then led to the 911 RSR. And there's quite an interesting discussion here how they built it for the GT1 regulations, which became GT2, which became GTE, and they didn't want to change the name because of money. So there's a lot of interesting things here you can read about it. I highly recommend reading it. So yeah, it's an interesting car. And speaking of interesting cars, now we're getting into the final real section of that part of the files, which includes stock cars now. So Renato has confirmed that there will be 3 stock car classes coming, which we also been found in the files. And I will refer to them not as the AMS2 names, because that's just Gen 1, 2, 3, but the actual generations in NASCAR, which we will be starting with the Generation 2, which was raced between 1967 and 1980. So they had a V8, obviously, because it's America and NASCAR, so they had quite a few cars. We don't know what car specifically it will be based on, but you can see here they are quite cool. You also have I hope it's the Plymouth Superbird. That would be a very cool car. So yeah, there you have these ones. So I don't know what more to say, but it's a very cool car. But if we just go back to Gen 1, okay, you can see that the cars aren't fully the same, but I feel like you could still make like most liveries for most cars. Now we jump forwards to the Generation 4, which is from 1992 to 2006 and part-time in 2007, which look more like the cars I remember. I must have this. I believe I have a Hot Wheels car, which is like this one, which I loved. Not this exact livery, but I believe it had like a fire livery, and I believe I have it somewhere. So this one is a very cool car. I made a video on why they should add this, which we know they're doing, but I also discussed why specifically they were adding this, and I believe there are a lot of people who would really love this car. And now we jump to the final, or sort of final, NASCAR class, and that is Generation 7, I believe. Yeah, Gen 7 car, which is the modern version, which I feel like look very cool, and I really like these cars because they have not a manual, they have a sequential. They weigh 1400 kilos roughly, 1450, which sounds quite cool. You have a V8 naturally aspirated. Doesn't say how much power. But yeah, I would say this is a very cool car. But Razer said that's not all, because they're also adding the Garage 56 car. But they had specifically the Chevrolet in the files, but then they switched it, I believe, for this update from Chevrolet to just a Razor-made version. So we have to see if they could license it or not. But this car, in my opinion, is very cool. I really like it because of just the noise, the colors, the livery, everything about it looks very cool. So I really hope they add it to Automobilista 2. And I see it that it will probably be its own update, I would say. Or, yeah, because I feel like they would have like the Aston Martin update now with IMSA expansion. Then you have the NASCAR, I would say. And then you can start going into Le Mans, which will be a very cool thing because I believe Automobilista 2's expertise is the GT3 class. No, I mean all historic cars. And now we're done with the ones in the actual vehicle files, but now there are 3 cars which were identified, one by me actually, in other spots. First one, which was found in the gear change grinding noise, was the 911 GT1 from 1997, which is the GT1 Evo, which you can see here. So it looks quite cool. I mean, we already have one, so I don't get why they would add it. We have the 1988 version, so I mean, we have to see what happens. And then you have a unidentified drift car, which we don't know about. But then you also have this, the Volvo Copa truck. And if you want to know how it feels, how it drives, and all of these things, they have, I believe, in Automobilista 2, it's called the Vulcan truck. It's unlicensed, but it has this livery, which I felt like I should show you because it's identical to the real one. So we will have to see if they add the Volvo or not. It could be a licensing issue. Hopefully not, because I hope they add also Volvo 240, S60 Polestar, and maybe in the future a Lincoln Co. TCR, which Renato has hinted that he might be adding TCR cars. So hopefully we see those coming. And that's about it for the files. No, for the things found in the files. But you probably want to know how to do it. So first of all, you have to download something to your game. I mean, a mod you have to download. Put it into Automobilista 2 CM. Then you have to go to here, and this is like the one for this is the one like the one. Then if it's active, you have to activate it, which means apply. And for every update, you have to uninstall and then install them again. So that's how you do it, basically. You download the mod, put it in AMS2's CM, activated it, and with every update, you have to uninstall and then activate it again. And then you want to go to this PC, local disk, program files, Steam apps, common, Automobilista 2, vehicles, and here you will see all of it. You will have some cars which are mods, which look like this because they have all of the information. Like I thought, oh my god, will we be getting a Alpine A10 Cup? No, that one isn't it. But this one, if it has the CRD, you can see that it's real. And if we go here, you can see all of the information. So forget this first paragraph. From here is the interesting information because you have the name, the manufacturer, the vehicle model, you have the class. You also have like physical model, You have a lot of cool and interesting information in the files. And then you can also go to here, to tracks, and then you can check all of the tracks. And remember, if it's like this one, or so remember that some tracks might be from Project Cars 2, like this Azure Coast. And it has a few things in it, so you have to remember that. And that's about it for this very long video, nearly close to a bit over 50 minutes it will probably be. So what do you think? Comment it down below. And once you're done there, please hit the like button and also subscribe. My next video, we'll have to see what it's on, because this week seems promising for an update to possibly come out at the end of this week or maybe next week. So we have to see if maybe the next video will be on the Valkyrie. Otherwise, that will be dropping when the update drops. But until then, I've been Racing Legend. You've been my amazing viewers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.